welcome. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. Thank you so much for that amazing performance, Resounding Infinity Musicians, and astrological reading. I feel rejuvenated and relaxed and rested instead of anxious upon starting an artist panel. So that's a change for me, so thank you. My name is Kat Zagaria Buckley. I am the Director of Art Exhibitions and Outreach here at the University of Southern Maine. I want to start by thanking the Maine Humanities Council for sponsoring tonight's artist panel. And I am pleased to welcome the following participants tonight. Susan Bickford, who's at my far left, is a Maine artist working with ecosomatics within the tenets of deep ecology, utilizing performance, video, textiles, and installation. Invoking the Muses, Beloved Surrender, Nuts Garment, I Am the Bridge, and Resounding Infinity are her offerings for this show. Bickford holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts and Bachelor of Industrial Design from the Rhode Island School of Design and a Master of Fine Arts from the Maine College of Art and Design. She has been teaching art at the University of Maine, Augusta since 2003. Selected exhibitions include the Portland Museum of Art Biennial, Space Gallery, Bates College M Studio, Speedwell Gallery, the Maine International Film Festival, the Picnic Pavilion, and the Picnic Pavilion in Venice, Italy. And I do have to apologize if I mispronounce anything across everyone's bios. Next up, I would like to welcome Firefly, who is joining us remotely. Hello. Firefly, born Jason Brown, is a Penobscot artist from Penawamskek on the Penobscot River in Maine. Grandson of a tribal chief who led a native rights struggle, he blends Wabanaki tradition with contemporary performance. As a music keeper, he has performed across Maine and nationwide. Since 2020, he has an integrated projection mapping and videography, earning a Kennedy Center Arts Across America feature and releasing his debut album, Sacred Fire. In 2023, he performed at Merrill Auditorium, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and premiered Militaquat with the Bangor Symphony Orchestra, released a second album, Wabanavia, in 2024, and premiered Dreamland with the Portland Symphony in 2026. Samantha Jones, 2 seats to my left here, is a materials-based installation artist living in Blue Hill, Maine. She is an adjunct assistant professor at the University of Maine, holding a PhD from the Institute for Doctoral Studies in Visual Art in Portland and a Master of Fine Arts from Tyler School of Art in Philadelphia. In Of Sibyls and Source, Ranges and Ruptures, she enters into a vital surrealist dialogue with the living material of stone, paper, felt, trees, mountains, and water, including a 90-foot silk velvet piece entitled In the Belly of the Whale, spanning the length of the Crewe Center. Selected exhibition venues include the Center for Maine Contemporary Art in Rockland, the University of Maine Farmington, 3S Art Space in New Hampshire, Grace College, Indiana, and Governor's Island, New York. She is represented by Amos Eno Gallery in New York. Heather Lyon, to my left, created the Of Sibyls and Source residencies and is an artist and educator living in Blue Hill, Maine. Her site-responsive performance, video, and textiles are an embodied inquiry into the sublime. For Of Sibyls and Source, Ranges and Ruptures, Lyon attunes to and channels the languages of the land. Her works include large-format fabric cyanotypes of hybrid beings and performances in caves, on mountaintops, and in bodies of water. Lyon is a lifelong student of transcendental meditation and indigenous mystical traditions. She holds a Bachelor of Fine Arts and a Master of Fine Arts from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Selected exhibition venues include the De Cordova Sculpture Park and Museum in Lincoln, Massachusetts, the Center for Maine Contemporary Art, the State Silk Museum, and Lichtenberg Studios in Der Museumslange, Berlin, Germany. Kristin Mariani, also joining us remotely, Her practice is an ongoing conversation between art and design. Acknowledging the slippery distinctions between the two disciplines, her investigations unfold in this unstable territory. Based in Chicago, Kristin creates works for performance and installation, deploying aesthetic strategies, skill-based knowledge, and text to probe the historical, material, and labor-oriented underpinnings encapsulated in any effort to clothe a body. Recent projects include a costume commission for Porch, an architecture of generosity at the 19th Venice Biennale of Architecture. Of Sibyls and Source, Ranges and Ruptures provides a plateau for Kristin to explore the fugitive nature of the Sibyls' oracles as a condition of utterance and embodiment of echo, with an installation of found object figure studies encircling a brick hearth. Artist Misael Soto cannot join us tonight, but as they are an integral part of this exhibition, I did want to read their bio. Misael is an artist, educator, and organizer based in Miami, Florida. Their practice interrogates and subverts contextually associated everyday objects and systemic roles, disrupting and manipulating space, systems, and frameworks. Born in Puerto Rico, Misael received their Master of Fine Arts from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. While in residence with the City of Miami Beach's Department of Environment and Sustainability, Misael founded the Department of Reflection. Misael is the founder of Artist Solidarity Collective Artists for Artists Miami, an ongoing effort that has led to various initiatives, including the Miami Artist Census. For Of Sibyls and Source, Ranges and Ruptures, Misael presented a temporary public concrete sculpture made in situ via a durational performative installation. I'm going to check my time. I think that's about all that I have time for. So I'm going to pass our evening to Heather Lyon, who's going to give us a short reading.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Kat, thank you so much for inviting us. It's really such an honor to be sharing our work in this way in this incredible new space. Thank you. Sibyl, may we speak? I have been told that you came to new mountains, caves, and waters from Egypt before recorded time and still dwell in these places. That you have held many names, carried many myths, that you are one of 10, that you are infinite. Beings speak through your body during states of trance, and these messages are shared in all languages, from the whisper of the moth to the rustle of wind in the leaves of the linden tree to the cry of the multitude of stars. Sibyl, shapeshifter, I have found traces of you, records of your bodies, of your wild wings and fringed legs, cloven hooves, serpent in your hand, a glimpse of you caught for a moment in the color blue, midnight, cyan, deep. Sibyl, you move me, you rise above me as I kneel at the mouth of your cave and pour honey into your cracks. I look up the ridge and watch in awe a flock of large black winged birds soar above me. You come to me as 24 dark beings passing in front of the solstice sun. I am at 7,129 feet above sea level and have made a pilgrimage to your cave. You come to me as the high-altitude species of moth and butterflies that pepper the grass and rock and rise to fly across a valley deeper than I can fathom. Fathom, wingspan of a human's outstretched arms, fathoms down to the small icy river in the crevices of these mountains. The river sings through the ravine, sparkling over pebbles. Sibyl, you take rest here, dripping your beaded tears, iridescent silks, saliva, liquid body over stone. Oracular being. Can we talk about the body? My body is many bodies. Your bodies is future and past. Sibyl's future and past is many sensing organisms. is text, textural, is absent, a medium for source, moving water, is sequined, web-footed, fragile, folded, leaking, is fleeting, a moment in the passage of time, passing through a portal. What is left is the record of bodies. How can we talk about the body without speaking of touch? How I reach to touch unseen forces, locating invisible magnitudes, groundwater, water table, body of water. My body is the dowsing rod. I too am a body of fluid presence. Can we talk about water? Water draws me. Water as transition, as transmission, as transmitter. Water permeates process and image. Deep sea, deep space, both shades of indigo midnight. Lapis lazuli fills me the way water is me. Source is the wellspring of all things, is the energy that creates and gives life, is water, is ether, is the essence, is flow, ever overflowing. And Sybil, you read Source. You channel Source and interpret for the community as it flows through your body, as it uses your voice transmitted through you. You communicate and translate the watery knowing of the universe. You speak the voices of granite and bee, oak tree, hermit thrush, whale, fungus, salt, and rockweed. Slow dance of seaweed in the current, in the gentle push and pull of the waves. Can we talk about the caves? When I weep from the tenderness and sensitivity to light, form, surface, color, posture, gesture, to the licking tongue, to the sweep of antlers, to the kneeling, prone, gentle partner. The handprint, manganese, blown over the surface of the hand. The most elemental and elegant gesture. I am here, and I touch, and I make. This veil of pigment held back to the stencil of a hand. I can now see the invisible touch of a hand from 20,000 years ago that resembles mine, deep in the heart of the mountain. Heart of a mountain, belly of a mountain, mountain as sea, mountain that was once the sea floor, inversions of place, of time, fractured, pushed, formed by elemental forces, those same forces that pulse through our bodies, frequencies, hum, quickening, pulse, labor, birth, the cry, the suck, the milk, the teat, the blood and bones, the ether, the mystery that holds it all together and breaks it open, the glitter of crystals. Divination, divination, divination. She is the mountain itself. Sybil, how can I open myself more fully to channel mystery, that I may be of service to the universe? Sybil, use me, speak through me, use my body as your vessel. My body is your medium, is your nature. Sybil, I seek you everywhere, always, evermore, in the aliveness of all things.
Hello, everyone. It's very good to be there. I think for me, the excitement about this exhibition was really another way to touch distance. This whole project for me began with approaching a distance I viewed into the previous year in Monte Castello di Vivio, through this veil of a dress that I have right here, looking into actually what was the direction of Mount Sibillini, Mount Sibillini. And so the following year to be invited to hike that mountain, actually reach into that distance was really exciting. And then to then be invited to participate in this show in Maine was another opportunity to kind of close that distance. My first visit to Maine virtually was when I was in Rome, and I was zoomed in for another exhibit. And it was through, again, this dress that I was able to reach in across the electric channel. So I think I'll stop there.
Can I invite you now, Firefly?
Hi, everybody. I have some notes. Let's see. For me, what made me interested in participating in this exhibit, was an opportunity to share what I do with new people, share what I do in live performance, and share our culture. Also a fabulous opportunity to share in such an incredible space, with it being so brand new and so state of the art and so cutting edge, not really knowing what I was sort of walking into, as far as actually after I got there and realized exactly how incredible everything was for the performance, and a chance to meet new people, and just to extend that energy out, and extend the love too. I mean, I think everybody came together in the name of creativity, and to me, creativity, it's one of those core energies like love. You can see the colors I have behind me. It's violet. It's all about the frequency. And I really knew it was going to be a great vibe, a great creative vibe there, and that you all would be so gracious with me and kind of just let me come in and let me do my thing. So yeah, I really appreciate it, and just that chance to create in the moment, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite you, Susan? What made you interested in participating in the exhibition?
It was just a no-brainer. My dear friend and collaborator, Heather, I saw that she was doing this workshop and residency in Umbria, and yeah, I think I signed up the very day I saw it offered, and because it was for love, really. I think, because I love Heather, and I was really looking forward to a chance to be led instead of the one doing the leading, and in a new place as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm a Sag rising, so I love to travel and learn new things and meet new people. And so, that place has a magic all unto itself, and that's why. Yeah.
Samantha?
Hi. Oh, gosh. It's really hard to parse it, right? I think ultimately I'm a forest dweller, which is not that far away from a cave dweller, and I feel like I'm deeply a cave dweller. So I had been doing a lot of studying about these beetles that basically fall in love with the pine tree. The pine tree, when it's getting ready to become a snag, it sends out these, they're called chiromones, right? These opportunist scents that they're like an invitation to come and burrow into them, to make cave systems, right? These tiny little cave systems. And it got me to think about Pythia, who was this oracle, who would breathe the breath, this concept of inspiration. She inspired the ether from the chasm in the earth, which scientifically they actually found a chasm with the gas and everything. But it was said mythologically to be the breath or the scent of the dead Erechthion, the dead snake that was killed. And so this chthonic breath, right? So I've been deeply enamored of the idea of the oracle being the one who breathes in, who inspires this inspirational breath of the deep creative spirit that then breathes out into the world again. So that breath then expands, and this idea of going to Italy and consulting an oracle, I needed to do that. There was just no question. And then we got to come back here and uncover the oracles that are all around us here in our own familiar habitat. So to be able to come here and participate in this show has been a real gift.
Heather?
I just got so excited by the work that everybody was making in Italy that I wanted to continue the conversation. So I strategized how I could do that and ended up leading a couple of other residencies in Maine and wanted to share the work that we were all making with a larger audience. In Italy, we had an exhibition at the end of the residency. That was part of the plan. And I just felt like the work needed to get out into the world. And yeah.
Thank you. The next question is for whoever would like to take it. How do you feel stories influence or affect your work, both inside and outside of the exhibition's context? Remote friends, any takers? Kristin?
For me, storytelling is another way of touching distance, kind of trying to reach the unknown, to make new connections, creatively, intellectually, spiritually too. For me, how did I let that play out in my work at the Crewe Center? The idea of working from the signs in the space and conflate those with the story, the legends of the Sibyls that Susan found, I think, and translated. But for me, it was a way of connecting the there with the here. So you are all there, I am here. When we were all in Maine together, we were reflecting on an experience which was elsewhere. And I think that aligns with some of the stories of the Sibillini, the oracle, the site of the oracle, the context of the oracle, and how that resonated, how that echoed. So for me, it very much is about storytelling, but particularly oral traditions and good old conversations. I'll stop there.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. Well, thinking about, I think storytelling really allows the imagination to take off and allows language, us to get somewhere new just like you were saying. And I'm thinking about the story of, well, we were thinking also about mountain ranges and ranging mountains. These sort of geophysical, once they become geomythical, we can now maneuver in our minds in time space, and we can be there and here, which is so lovely. And I just wanted to say there was a particular story about this whale belly, mountain belly situation that's hanging out there. Heather and I were able to visit a cave that was deep in the desert at the top of a mountain. And it felt like it was also what we were experiencing. It was part of this story somehow, but it doesn't have to make sense, right? It's just there. And we had to go an hour into the heart of this mountain to find these cave paintings. But in the center of this mountain at the top in the desert was a whale. There were some fertility stuff happening, but there was this whale with a walrus drawn inside of it. And I will never forget this image in my head. And so this whale belly that holds the whole world, that seems to span mountains and worlds, somehow found a story there. So that's where stories can get you.
Thank you. My favorite part of doing panel discussions with artists is always having them ask questions of one another. So I want to ensure we leave ample time for everyone to do that. I'd like to begin by inviting Kristin to ask a question of Susan.
Hi, Susan. So my question for you is relates to your video and the cloth that was during my performance. I got a chance to try to grasp your cloth on the wall, and during my performance, I found myself asking myself, I wonder what she's done with this cloth. So could you please share where that cloth is now that was in your video?
Yeah, it's in my studio. It was definitely the inspiration for the dresses. I mean, if I was telling you a story, I could tell you that it was the dresses. So maybe it is the dresses. And maybe it's in my studio. And maybe it's still up there on the mountain. Yeah, I mean, I think it's in the wind, right? I think it's like that piece of fabric saved me, Kristin, up there on the mountain from heat stroke. And then it became, it became the vehicle with which I could dance with that place in that moment. And so, yeah, it's all of those things, I think. And you can imagine it anywhere that you want it to be. That's a great question.
Susan, would you like to ask a question of Sam?
Yes. I had a question earlier. I was trying to formulate one, and I guess, let's see if I can do it now. I've really enjoyed living with your work. I'm an artist who sort of haunts the gallery after the work is installed, because I feel like it continues through the interaction with all the people, and I like to see it, and I like to continue to interact with it. And one day, I was here when the sun was setting, and the story that came into my body was that this hot mess of a piece of fabric, this color, this like crazy stained, active, wild thing was actually coming from the sun. and coming through the window as a ray of golden sunshine energy and just lighting up the thing. And what is it? Are you in a transcendental state when you create the staining, when you make the thing? Because for me, it feels like it is a connection to source.
That's a really good question. Thank you for asking that. So I would say the word transcendence would not be the word that I use when I think about how I make and how this thing came to be. I don't actually consider myself to have made it. I consider this to be an emergence. So I sort of exist in this emergent space with this thing. So it came into this world. It had its way with me. That's how it happened. I think that the work unmakes and makes. Just like a beetle, carving through the wood, it makes the beetle when the beetle liquefies. So it's like how you have to do that. That's how making happens. So this piece is very much a living being, and like all of the beings that I've had the privilege of interacting with and helping to come into this world. But that's how it came, and it has taken on its own life. Yeah, I could not have controlled this thing. It had its way. Yeah. When I rolled this thing out down this corridor, I cried. I mean, it wanted to be here. I was just along for the ride, really. And I'm very thankful. Yeah. Here.
Sam, might you have a question for Heather?
I might. Yes, Heather, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your process with these amazing cyanotypes.
Thank you. I would love to. So I have 3 large format cyanotypes hanging in the gallery. And one of the things that I love about the process of making such large work is that it's very collaborative. I couldn't make those alone. Not only is it a collaboration with the people, humans that I have helping me, but it's also a collaboration with the surface of the earth that I am lying on and with the light of the sun. There's also materials from the site that are added onto the surface of the fabric that I really never know what they're going to reveal. And this kind of unknown quality in the process of cyanotype is something that makes me really, really love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather, do you have a question for Firefly?
Yes, I do. Hi, Firefly.
Hi, Heather.
You have the word hybrid as part of your name. I was wondering if you could speak to hybridity in your work, please. Thanks.
Definitely. A lot of people ask me, what does that mean? And I grew up on Indian Island, where it's the home of the Penobscot Nation, and we've continuously inhabited that island for close to 12,000 years. We're one of the few tribes that maintain a continuous village in a place like that for thousands of years. So I grew up there, and I grew up in that culture. Hybrid comes from the fact that my father is from New Sweden, Maine, and my great-grandparents were born in Sweden and immigrated to New Sweden, Maine. So my grandmother is a first-generation American. My father's a second, and then I would be a third on that side. So almost, people are so wonderful sometimes, aren't they? Almost as if somehow it was my fault that I'm Native American and white, Swedish. I got called half-breed a lot for most of my life. And it wasn't until I was probably in my 40s. A lot of cool things happen when you're in your 40s, I'll tell you what. A lot of things turn on. You stop caring what everybody thinks. I sort of took back my power with that, and I was at an art show somewhere, and somebody said that to me. She said, "Well, you're a half-breed." She was from Texas, so I was going to do the accent. But I said, "No, I'm not a half-breed. I'm a hybrid." And it just like came out of my mouth, So that's how that all came about. So when the name Firefly was given to me, I felt it was important to put the hybrid on there, as I guess the formal way to put it, Firefly for short, and because it's half of who I am, and there's many things that I build into my work that come from both cultures. It's like this, I always knew, but my whole identity, because of where I grew up, was I'm a Native American, you know what I mean? And that still is my identity. But now, my identity is more, I'm not half of anything, I'm whole, just like we all are whole, and why does anybody else have the ability to tell me what I can and cannot celebrate about who I am? So if I want to find a way to mix Wabanaki chants with Scandinavian scales and put dulcimers with turtle rattles and why not? It's creativity, and hopefully you can't hear this whole time my dogs were quiet, and as soon as I got on a microphone, I got two crazy hound dogs downstairs. I apologize, but so hybridity, that's how it finds its way into my life, is by celebrating everything that I am through my ancestral lineage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for the dogs.
Love the dogs.
Could you hear them?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Firefly. Do you perhaps have a question for Kristin?
I do have a question for Kristin. How are you, Kristin?
I'm Vic.
I want, great. So as I kind of just touched on, a lot of what goes into my creativity comes from cultural heritage. How do you incorporate that, your cultural heritage, into your work?
Thank you for that question. So I suppose I'm a bit of a hybrid too. My mother was German and Irish. My father was Italian and Polish, and there was a rupture in my family. And the Italian side of my family, I know very little about. And so I take a kind of speculative viewpoint on that history. And when I go to Italy, I went to the place of my great grandmother, Filomena Mecca, in Lucca. And not knowing much about her, the idea of touching on that ground and actually walking the streets or through the forests, observing the plant life that she might have seen before she immigrated to the United States was very healing for me. This is a separate trip to Italy, another thing, but that, I think, was very healing for me. This is a separate trip to Italy, another thing, but that, I think, was very healing for me. This is a separate trip to Italy, another thing, but that, I think, was very healing for me. This is a separate trip to Italy, another thing, but that, And I've been making this work that I do through my dress is all kind of dedicated to her, because when I have that veil over me, things are mediated and I allow myself to invent what I see. Invent with what I see, I should say. So, um, so for me, in that way, it's a connection to ancestry. In Lucca, where she came from, it was on the Silk Road, because there were mulberry trees that the silkworms would eat off of. So the dress I made is all from found silks, and I'm parceling the fragments of my own ancestral history, um, fashioning it in a way, and allowing myself to invent while I'm also grounded, perhaps in the ecological conditions, the historical conditions that she experienced. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you so much, everybody. All of your answers were so beautiful and enlightening, even about specific portions of your practice or just about how your practice is informed by these wider considerations that are things I think that are almost we can all imagine as universal forces within our lives. I'd like to open it up to audience question and answer. Does anyone in our audience have a question for our artist panelists?
I have a question for Sam. The smaller pieces that are on the shelves, are they landscapes?
Thank you very much for asking about
Could you restate the questions just so our friends...
Are the smaller pieces that are along this wall here down in the corridor, are they landscapes? They are in between. They're liminal. So the stones themselves I collected from both Italy and Maine, and they had a certain energy, and I was thinking about this idea of what do you do with stones? What is this practice of scrying or holding a stone and trying to hold it as an oracle? And what is an oracle really, you know? And so I was thinking about the energy of the stone and how can I be with the stone without sort of projecting my own concept of fate or, you know, prophecy, you know, because I don't want to be thinking about that. I want to just be with the stone. What does it have to tell me? Especially when it was once liquid or some other completely different kind of material. And so deeply being with was what I kept in my head as I was making these things. And the velvet became a caring body, a being that was holding and caring and had a soft enough voice to be reacting to the shape and the form, which created these landscape-like forms. So that's what happened.
Yes. Could you restate the question?
Yes, thank you for that question. Where and when did the portals start? Second part of the question is, how does the community interact? What my thoughts and feelings are around how the community interacts. Okay, trying to think back. It's been a while. I believe I've made 5 or 6 portals so far. This is an ongoing practice. The first one came about because I wanted to make a flaming ring that I would run through, leap through around Halloween in 2021. And it took a while for that to actually be lit on fire, because once I had put it up with my partner's help, I loved it so much, and a lot of other people wanted to come and go through the portal too, so I left it up for 2 years, and then at the end of 2 years, we lit it on fire together and did go through it. Originally, I was going to be in a gold sequin jumpsuit, leaping through this ring of fire. That part didn't happen, but we did move through the flames. And then I was offered the opportunity to make a portal at Bates as part of their dance festival. And there were a lot of students that interacted with that piece. They helped me make the portal, and that was really exciting. So then I was like, let's make another one. And I made one at the Parsonage Gallery. That was the first one that was inside a space, which was very different. And then this one, made from repurposed pipe organ pieces that were gifted to me. And it just seemed very synchronistic to be able to make a portal from instrument parts for this particular space, this particular building housing the music department. And I guess my thoughts about community interaction is it's an integral part of the work. I'm fascinated by the responses that I get from people in terms of what the experience is like for them. And I've heard that it can be very transformational from some folks. So please, if anybody has gone through the portal, this one or any of the other portals, I love hearing what that is like for you and what that might have brought in your life in terms of transformation or change or awareness. So thanks for that question.
Thank you. I think we're almost at the end. Does anyone have a burning question before we conclude?
So the question is, were the Sibyl the reason for the trip to Italy? To simplify your question. No, and I guess I should answer that, and it would be a resounding yes. I was on a residency in Italy the year before, and I was approached by the director of that residency to create a residency that I would lead myself, and he brought the myth of the Sibyl to my attention, and we discussed different locations that would relate to the myth of the Sibyl. So yeah, it was absolutely the Sibyl that called me back to Italy and called me to invite other people to join me in interacting with, working with, learning from, learning with the Sibyl in all their forms.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank all of our lovely attendees. Thank you so much for staying for this evening's programming. Thank you to our panelists, both in person and remote. I'm so grateful for your creativity, for your participation in this exhibition, for your participation across media, across visual arts, performance, sound, installation. It's really, for me, been a wonderful experience because it's the first time I've been able to see this brand new space coming to life in the way that I envisioned it. I've been working on this building, planning it for 5 years. And truthfully, the opening with the performances by Firefly and Kristin against the backdrop of all of this wonderful artwork was exactly what we had envisioned, of this synthesis between the disciplines, of showing the porosity of how there is the boundaries we see between artistic disciplines are really arbitrary, and we should I feel they can influence each other, especially in this wonderful context where you can see the artwork and you can see the performance. You can see how the arts speak to one another. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to put on this programming. And I wish everybody a happy, pleasant night and a safe drive home.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you,
Thanks
Kat.
so much.
Thank you.
Kat,
Thank you.